So we have to consider our adolescents' natural, healthy development so that we don't end up pathologizing some behaviors that we're seeing that are actually part of their healthy growth. Parenting teenagers can be challenging in that for many of us, our teenagers start to get taller than we are. They start to have physical features that look more adult-like. And so in many ways, they look like adults, and yet what we know is that they don't have the same capabilities. So one of the ways that there's discrepancy between the way they look like an adult and those capabilities is through their brain development. And one of the things we know is that an adolescent's prefrontal cortex, that's the part of the brain that's responsible for things like executive functioning, planning, problem solving. It's like the brain's CEO. It doesn't work like an adult brain. We know that adolescents are notoriously impulsive and they take risks. They have this wonderful ability to overestimate the positives and underestimate the negatives. Just understanding that they are still a work in progress, even though in many ways they look very much like an adult. The other thing we need to keep our attention on is that adolescents have a strong need and desire for their peer group. And the way that we experience this as parents is we can start to feel them pull away. And in that process, they're also grappling with three really important questions. Who am I? Where do I belong? And what matters to me? And we know that they can't really find the answers to those questions if they stay tethered to us. So they engage in this process called individuation. And that's the process of them moving from childhood to adulthood. And for us as parents, it can feel initially like rejection. So I think it's really important for us to remember that this is an important part of their development. And when we keep that in mind, sometimes that pulling away can feel a little more comfortable. The other thing to keep in mind with adolescents is their need for privacy. I can remember when my older teens were really craving that privacy for the first time, and I used to walk past their bedroom, door would be closed, and I would imagine like all kinds of things that might be going on in there. So I would kind of knock, open the door a little bit, and sure enough, they'd be on their beds, listening to music, doing homework. But the idea is that bedrooms can in some ways become like their apartments. And in many ways, they're starting to practice what it's gonna feel like to live on their own. So I try to help parents respect that privacy, but also ensure that they're inviting their adolescent to attend family meals, participate in family activities. Lastly, I just want to talk about sleep. So we know that sleep is a protective factor for good mental health. We also know that sleep is a protective factor against anxiety, right? And so the rub here actually with our adolescents is that some of the brain changes result in the release of their melatonin occurring up to 2 hours later than it would in an adult brain, which speaks to why for many of our adolescents, it's harder for them to go to bed when they used to when they were younger. While we can't really get them to bed like we used to when they were little, we can promote good sleep hygiene, right? By enforcing technology curfews and building good bedtime rituals. And the earlier that we can start to enforce this, the better for our kids.